From coast to coast, from DC to Southern California, Chicago in the middle. It's the one and only Sideline Sports on the Believe Network, WGJY in Atlanta, DBTV. We're all over the place. Make sure you're subscribing on YouTube and Believe. Make sure you're listening every Wednesday in the morning on WDJY. Got a great show. It's packed tonight. We got some draft predictions. We got some NBA basketball last night. The Knicks last second win. The Lakers blowing a 20-point lead. John's going to tell us about hockey as if anyone cares. And maybe if we have some time, we're going to talk about some new NCAA rules. We got a lot to unpack. Let's bring John in real quick.
How about my Carolina Hurricanes over your New York Islanders?
We're not up to that yet.
You're an Isles fan?
Or
you're not an Isles fan until they're winning?
No, I'm always an Isles fan. But we're not up to that yet. You're jumping ahead. Let's
slow your roll. I just
wanted
to make sure you knew we
jumped
ahead 2-0.
Slow your roll.
All right.
Because speaking of 2-0, let's talk about the NFL draft. Where the Chicago Bears are on the clock with the #1 pick, and everybody thinks it's going to be Caleb Williams. That sounds kind of crazy. We need Dave in here for this because Dave actually got drafted, and neither of us did. So, he's our resident expert about that.
I was in that discussion for that #1 pick too.
Obviously it was the wrong move not taking you #1 because you're phenomenal.
The #1 pick in the 12th round. We could skip that whole hockey gibberish. I don't know what that's about. You could put me in backstage when you guys start talking about that. But, I told you guys when I played in Montreal, I'd go to La Caja Sport after the game, and I'd walk in and there'd be 85 TVs, and the only place mine was playing, or the rerun of the game was like a little 20-inch TV in the black and white in the corner, and everything else was hockey, man. And I didn't know nothing from hockey.
That's crazy. Hockey is an interesting sport. I like it. John loves it. Dave could care less. But let's talk about the draft because that's obviously the biggest event going on this week. Going to happen in 2 days. In about less than 48 hours, the Chicago Bears are going to make their pick. Obviously, trading Justin Fields, they're probably going to take a quarterback #1 unless they want to prove everybody in the world wrong, and do something even stranger. But the Bears are known for weird things. So right off the bat, is it Caleb Williams? Is that the right choice here?
Yeah.
John?
Yeah.
John?
I didn't know if Dave wanted to go. Yeah, of course he's the right choice. He's the best prospect, talent-wise.
Ooh.
And what the Patriots always did was take the best player available. That's why they won for basically 20 years. They always took the best player available. So if you're the Bears or whoever's there, if the Bears trade back, Caleb Williams is the best pick. If you need a QB and you're only trading up at that spot, if you need a QB, he's the best player in the draft. He's the most talented. It's not saying he don't have baggage because he definitely has baggage. But if you think you got the right coaching staff, it really doesn't matter what kind of baggage he has, because if you have a Mike Tomlin type of coach, it doesn't matter what the baggage is. You can fix that. You can coach that out of him.
Really? Have you heard of Ryan Leaf?
Did you hear of Travis Kelce? Do you remember what Travis Kelce was like at the beginning of his career? And Andy Reid came swooping in and saved his career. He was a hothead. He was always getting stuff in the
he still is.
And now he's one of the greatest tight ends in the history of the game. So you can fix that. You can coach.
I just don't even think Caleb's the best quarterback in the draft, let alone the best player in the draft.
No, arm talent. I mean, there's no better arm talent in this draft than him. Say what you will again about his composure.
Well, John, that's the biggest part of being a quarterback is being able to lead your team on the field. I mean, there's a lot of guys that have talent that can't lead a team on the field. I played with one.
But this is one of the best quarterback prospects we've had in a long, long time. prospect wise, like arm talent strictly. This is one of the best arm talents we've seen in a very long time heading into a draft.
That's not that doesn't make a quarterback, unfortunately.
So, my question to you, you said, okay, if you have a Mike Tomlin type coach, Mike Tomlin coaches the Steelers, not the Bears.
I said a type coach. That's why I said type, JB. Make sure you listen.
Right. So you think
so
the Bears have
Roethlisberger had a few years that were really questionable as far as what he did off the field.
And he ends up being, I would say, probably
decent.
a top 10 quarterback of all time, so
a top 10 of all time.
And look at his stats. Look at his stats. I mean,
no way.
It's hard to argue the stats.
Well,
but look at his numbers.
When you play for 18 years, you're going to have stats.
But if you watch Roethlisberger week after week, the guy was an absolute animal. Nobody could take the guy down. He took beating after beating. He got his nose broken by Haloti Ngata in the middle of a play and kept going and threw a dart downfield while his nose got broken in the middle of the play. Like, guy's as tough as you'll ever see for a
So if you're going to call him a top 10 quarterback, because we're going to stop the draft talk for a second, because John just imploded this whole show. I'll give you 3 names. Tell me if Ben's better than either one. Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Peyton
Patrick
Manning.
Mahomes isn't in that. He's not there yet.
Patrick Mahomes in his limited time is better than Ben Roethlisberger. No questions asked.
I disagree with that. I haven't seen a full career yet, so no, I can't say that.
Patrick Mahomes can lose every game he plays from now until he retires. He's better than Ben Roethlisberger.
No, I disagree with that.
Hey, can we start the show over?
Welcome to Sideline Sports. Wow. Me and Dave DeRocher are going to have a conversation about sports. And John, I don't know what he's doing.
I guess it's a good thing I'm not an NFL scout because I would have no idea what I'm doing.
He's one of the best QBs in the history of the game, Ben Roethlisberger is. Wow. Like, just because he played recently doesn't mean we can't say he's one of the best QBs to ever play. I mean, the guy's
I gave you 3 already.
He's 5th in yards all time. He's only behind Brett Favre, Peyton Manning, and Tom Brady.
That's a skewed stat because they throw the ball now. They didn't throw the ball from the 80s prior, John. It wasn't a big part of the game. So you can't just go by passing yards.
Okay, well then we can give that to Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes does other things.
That's right. He's not 5th in yards. He's not 8th in touchdowns all time. He's not even close. Wow. Stop.
Wow, John, you're killing me. You're killing me. And you think Caleb Williams is going to come out?
No,
the guy
I didn't say the guy who will. I said he's the right pick because you base it on potential, and he has the best potential out of any player in the draft. He's one of the best prospects, quarterback-wise, we've seen in a very, very long time. That's why he's a prospect, because no prospect is guaranteed. But he's the best prospect to come out of the draft in a long time.
You know what? You know what? It just dawned on me. John's problem in evaluating talent is that he is a statistic genius. He knows all the stats. The problem is that this game is much more than statistics, and that's where your theory is flawed, my man. Because Caleb is flawed, and he is going to be a flop.
He definitely is.
He's going to be a flop. He's going to be a bust. We're going to talk about it, and it won't even take a couple of years.
He might be, but
it won't even take a couple of years.
You can say that now, but compared to the other QBs and the other players in this draft, there's nobody better. There's no better prospect.
Is pretty damn good.
What he is, but ceiling-wise, Caleb Williams has the highest ceiling out of all the guys in this draft, and that's why he is the number 1 pick. He has the most talent, and he has the highest ceiling. He has the highest potential for upside, and that's why you go with a guy like that.
I want to break it down in 2 ways. First, I want to look at what Chicago did. So when they got Justin Fields, they traded a number 1 pick and swapped spots with the Giants. So basically, they lost the number 1. They gave up on him. They have the number 1 pick this year. They could have kept him and coached him because he was very coachable, because they obviously coached him not to run out of the pocket from watching their games. So he is coachable. They could have kept him and traded down and drafted one of the other decent quarterbacks that are in this draft, because it's all upside. Nobody knows how good one of these guys is going to be.
Exactly.
And got a nice payload for it. Now they're going to draft a guy, and I'm going to go on record today and say Caleb Williams will be a bust. So if that's their pick, it's not going to be pretty. He doesn't have the mental fortitude as Justin Fields had. Justin Fields was bashed weekly in Chicago, and all he did was show up and play football. He didn't care. His
And he
last
played football
4 or
pretty
5 games,
badly. It was pretty bad.
John, if you watch the games from last year to this year, right, he would run into the pocket and he would make great plays last year. This year,
that's the key word: plays, not throws. Plays, because he can run. John, he's a great athlete. He's not a good quarterback.
He didn't have receivers until this year, John. His receivers were horrible
and
until
he still
they got
wasn't
DJ
very good this year.
Because
he still
the
misses
offensive
wide
line
open
was horrible.
throws. He can't read a defense.
John,
he does.
You're not listening. You're not listening.
Dave just said there's more to a quarterback than just arm talent. You got to be able to read a defense. He has no idea how to do anything a quarterback should do in here. Justin Fields has no idea how to do any of that. That's why he got traded for next to nothing to go to Pittsburgh, because he needs fixed. The only one that can fix him is a guy like Mike Tomlin possibly can fix him. That's not a guarantee. That's a big project.
So
I just don't think Justin Fields is a very good quarterback. I think he was on a great collegiate team. He had a great collegiate career, and there's just way too much being asked of him. I think he's going to be a really good backup quarterback for about another 10 years. But he was overrated, and that was the problem.
But I'm not disagreeing with any of that. But they could have kept him and had him start this year, and taken somebody later in the first round.
Yeah,
and traded away the number 1 pick, got rid of the Caleb Williams drama, and got a Drake May or somebody else, and groomed them, because sometimes quarterbacks a year or two on the bench learning become really good. That's the way it used to be.
He doesn't want to go to Chicago as well.
I'm just giving an example, John.
I don't think anybody wants to go to Chicago.
JB's in Chicago, and he doesn't want to be in Chicago.
Yeah.
I don't know about all that. But anyway, so all right. So we're convinced that the Bears are going to make the mistake with Caleb Williams at the number 1 pick. And John says that it's the right pick. Me and Dave are definitely disagreeing with John.
I didn't say I like him, but I understand he has the highest upside. He has the most talent. And when you have that, and he is one of the best prospects from that position we've seen in a very long time, then I think you have to roll the dice if you're the Bears. I think you have to roll the dice on him.
So when I look at upside, I look at where you start. And if you're the number 1 pick in the draft, that's pretty high starting rate. Right. I think he has much more downside risk than upside potential. I think he's starting way up here. I think he's going to be a problem, and I think he's going to have issues. He's going to take a cut and pay to go to the NFL, and he's set up for failure. Unfortunately, this new system is setting up these young kids for failure. They have an exceedingly high expectation of how easy it is to make money and to play. There's just a lot of factors weighing against him. I think the guys that are going to start lower have much more upside potential because they have something to prove. Right? Well, why wasn't I number 1 pick? Why wasn't I a first round pick? Why was I a third round pick? Some of these quarterbacks are going to last around to the second, third rounds, and they're going to have a lot more upside potential, I think.
So, John, in your thought, you don't think Jaden Daniels could be the number 1 pick? You don't think he has enough upside to?
No, I think he has a lot. I would love, if I'm Chicago, I would love if they took him, because I love what the kid can do. I think he's more athletic than Caleb Williams, not as good of an arm, but I think he's overall. I think he's a better quarterback. I think he could be a better quarterback, and that counts between here, but. I understand what Caleb Williams brings, and I won't fault them for that. But I like Jaden Daniels more. Like, I really like him. I think he's going to be a great plair. But again,
Mark, somebody please.
But I understand why you would take Caleb Williams. He has the highest upside, the highest ceiling. And also, the floor could drop out from under him, and I get that too. But
I wanted somebody to document the time in which that John and I actually agreed with something that he said, and I love Jaden Daniels. I love him I've seen him interviewed. I'm familiar with his coaches here in Southern California. there's some kids where you just go, holy smokes, I don't know when he's gonna fall on his face, but he's gonna. But then there's a kid like Jaden Daniels where I think he's gonna step into this stage and shine and continue to build and do well.
And I love Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah,
too.
I mean that guy.
Yep. I mean, imagine if the Colts got him and he ended up, going where his dad played. That would be awesome. I loved his dad was the ultimate pro, the pros pro. So having his dad in his corner, the kid was great in college. One of the few who come from their dad who actually look like they could succeed, because Jerry Rice's kid doesn't look like he's going to succeed. Frank Gore doesn't look like he's going to succeed. But Marvin Harrison Jr., I love that kid. Arizona probably gets him, and man, he's so good. Him and Kyler Murray will be fun together.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the ESPN mock draft at the moment. So 1, 2, and 3, they have quarterbacks. They have Caleb Williams to the Bears, Jaden Daniels to the Commanders, and Drake May to the Patriots. So, John, you're not sold on Drake May. Either am I. Not as a number 3
He
pick.
reminds me of Mitch Trubisky. He makes me think of Mitch Trubisky all over again, what Chicago Bears did with him, picking him over Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. I think Drake May is another Mitch Trubisky. He has him written all over him. Him and J.J. McCarthy. I don't see anything special with those two QBs. I don't see it. So I think those two have bus written all over them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a bit high for him. Dave, have you seen much of Drake May from Carolina?
No. Carolina's football team?
North Carolina, UNC.
Yeah, they wear that pretty blue. And,
the Gamecocks.
No, that's South Carolina.
Wrong conference.
They're both the same. They're both the same school. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, my buddy's gonna kill me for that one. But anyhow. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a reach for the Patriots at the 3 spot. I don't see him as a number 3 pick in the draft.
No.
I saw JB a bunch of mocks that have and I've heard rumblings that it's already behind the scenes agreed to, but don't know if that's true or not, that the Vikings are going to jump up to 3 and get JJ McCarthy. That's what I had heard. And then the Patriots are going to wait and try to get Drake May whenever they flip-flop with the Vikings. That's what I had heard, because the Vikings really love McCarthy. I don't get it, but
they have plenty of room. I don't think he's going anywhere that high.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I don't think he's that talented either.
And it's just
when you're on a team like Michigan that could you could pretty much stick anybody back there and steamroll people. I feel bad because I just don't. If you just watch him play, he's competitive. He's athletic, but man, he is just not an NFL player.
I feel like he's a game manager, a nice backup, but a game manager. I just
not a number 3 pick for sure.
No. And trading up all that draft capital, which the Vikings could do to jump to 3.
Well, and I think Fields is a great example of what the same thing. You have so much. You're surrounded by so much talent. It just makes you look better. And I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, so now at receiver, I mean, obviously there's Marvin Harrison Jr. After that, who else should we look for? Where do you think they're going to fall, John?
I mean, I guess how you say his neighbors. I think he'll go to the Chargers if they stay put at 5. I like Brian Thomas a lot. I like Aduzie, or however you say his name, from Washington.
Aduzie was. I'll tell you what, man, that kid, he can make space and he could get open, and he made that kid from Washington look really good.
Penix Jr.
Yeah. And Penix is another guy that his name gets thrown around as being. I don't know. I watched a lot of the games because I'm a West Coast guy, So
of course, and you live close.
I didn't. Yeah, I just. It always looks a little bit awkward, for a left-handed quarterback for some reason to me. The way the ball's released and come out of his hand, but I don't. I mean, they certainly won games, but once again, there's another really, really good team. So how good of a quarterback do you need to be, and especially when you have that kid you just mentioned? He is a talent, and you get him paired up with the Chargers.
You could, and I also saw a mock, Dave, that he could go to the Bills, go to Josh Allen.
Oh yeah, so yeah,
That would be a perfect
two
fit.
great quarterbacks that could use a really good young
Yep.
talent. Yeah.
So I'm looking at the ESPN draft, the mock. They have no running backs in the first round. Is there any running back that you think could get to the first round, John?
No, running backs are, unless you're Bijan Robinson, where you absolutely force your way into being picked in the top 10. I don't think so. Unless you're a generational guy like that, or a generational guy like Saquon Barkley. When he came out of Penn State, man, he looked so good. Unless you're that, and I don't see anybody close to that in this draft. Now, why waste your first round pick? The NFL doesn't value running back, so why would you waste a first rounder?
And they're so easily injured. We can go through all the I don't know, every draft for the past 10 years and pick a top round running back that ends up getting hurt right away. And Penny. We can go on and on and on. And it's a tough position, and the size of defensive players in the NFL versus your collegiate. Yeah, you're gonna have one or two of those cats that you're lining up against. But when you get to the NFL, every single one of those dudes is, you're 300 pounds across the front, all of them, and they're all fast. Your linebackers are 240 and they're all fast. Your DBs are all 220 and they're all fast. And so it's a little bit different animal when you're running back and you're trying to find holes and be durable and make it through a 17 game season. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. When you look at this draft, I don't see much value in the running back position. The wide receivers seem to be stacked. Quarterbacks, there's a couple of really good quarterbacks. The offensive linemen look good. Obviously, got some great edge rushers. It'll be interesting to see.
And JB, you asked about running backs. Chiefs won a Super Bowl with Damian Williams as their running back. They won a Super Bowl with Isaiah Pacheco as their running back. They drafted him in the 7th round? They drafted these guys. Damian Williams, they picked up off of the scrap heap from the Dolphins. Won a Super Bowl with him. Like, the Chiefs they didn't need to draft, big guys, big names, Saquon Barkley. They didn't need to go and do all of that. Like, they just have guys they draft late and they plug them in and it works. And, so like really the formula that in the NFL is you don't have to have a top end running back in order to succeed. If you have a good system, you can, draft a guy like Pacheco and make it work.
Yeah, but that Pacheco, I mean, I don't know where he came from, but that dude, you know what? From the first time I saw him run, I'm like, that guy is a dude.
Yeah.
I heard somebody explain, he just runs angry, like he hates the ground.
Does.
And
he's a Tasmanian devil.
Man, and but then he'll outrun you too. It's fun to watch him run. And as soon as I saw that, I'm like, Mahomes.
He's an exciting dude. He's exciting to watch.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Question for you guys: are you guys drinking the Kool-Aid?
No, I'm drinking coffee.
Okay, because on the ESPN mock, they have Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama go to the Detroit Lions. So is there going to be Kool-Aid for everybody in Detroit, John?
That's a great pick. The Lions definitely need a cornerback. They struggled. They struggled there last year. We saw Cam Sutton get smoked over and over in the playoffs. So
that was your Achilles heel for sure. Yeah.
And if I'm the Ravens, I make sure I go out of my way to go and get Kool-Aid because the Ravens desperately need a corner as well. So if I'm Baltimore and I'm Detroit, I'm fighting to get him for sure.
My question is that his legal name? And if it is, did he have an NIL with Kool-Aid?
I don't think that's his real name. I don't think.
I have no idea, but that's pretty wild.
Well, ask him on Thursday.
Hey, since we're talking about, is Booger McFarland, is that his real name?
That's a great question. I'm not sure.
I would be mad if my parents named me Booger.
Yeah,
Booger, if you're watching or listening, let us know. Reach out. SidelineSportsNet.com. Your source for
I guess we could Google it like all the them kids are doing.
What's
what's
that
the
Google
fun
you
in
Kids, when
talking?
kids, they got a question about something, they just Google it.
What's the fun in that?
That's no fun.
I'd rather ask him, hey, is your real name Booger?
All right. So, last question before we wrap up this.
Wait, we can't wrap
noteworthy.
up. We can't wrap up draft without Raphael, can we? Isn't he coming?
He's having computer issues. He'll be here eventually, so we'll see. But last question, because we got to move on, and then we'll come back to it when he gets here.
Right.
John, biggest drop or biggest trade that you could see happening?
Again, I think the Vikings jump up with the swap with the Patriots to go, and I think they're desperate to get a QB because they know Justin Jefferson's going to leave if they don't have anybody to throw him the ball. So I think they go out of their way to get a QB to please him. Kind of like the Ravens went out of their way to pay OBJ like $18 million last year just to make Lamar happy. I think the Vikings do that just to make JJ happy. And the biggest drop, I think JJ McCarthy drops. If the Vikings don't take him, I think he falls. If they don't jump up, I think he falls hard. I don't think he's going to go top 3 if that trade doesn't happen.
Dave, any surprises you can see?
I don't. I'm not a. These things where everyone sits around trying to figure out who the heck's going where. I don't get it. I don't know. I'll tell you what though.
None of us know.
There's gonna be some kid we're all gonna be feeling sorry for. he's gonna slowly fade, and as soon as that slippery slope hits, because whatever the reason is, man, as soon as 2 people pass, all the other teams are going, "Hey, what's up with that dude?"
That was Will Levis last year.
Yeah, and
you know what though,
it's always somebody, and then the doggone cameras don't come off them.
That
was
was
like,
Will Levis.
Oh my gosh,
best one to ever do it though. Warren Sapp, he slid, and all of a sudden, Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
So
Lamar Jackson slid all the way to the end of
I don't want to talk.
first.
I don't want to talk about that horrible trade because the Giants had the second pick in the second round, and Cleveland already took Baker. So there was still a chance in my mind if New England didn't screw me, that my Giants would have got Lamar, and I'd be very happy
Did
right
you
now.
want Lamar at that spot? Like, were you pining for Lamar?
At that point, that would have been a great pick.
I meant, like, were you hoping that the Giants took him at that point?
So at that point, yes, because I wanted a quarterback because Eli was pretty much done.
Right.
And, we got Barkley, and Eli was towards the end of his career. So you got to have somebody to replace him.
Yeah.
And give Lamar a year to study under Eli, who was a good quarterback. I thought Lamar was going to be pretty good. So, and then the Patriots did what the Patriots do and mess everything up. And, Baltimore got a great pick. I almost drove off the road when I heard that. I was so annoyed. I was, to this day, I remember I'm driving on 81, John, which I'm sure you know well.
Yep.
Somewhere in Pennsylvania. And I heard the announcement, because I was listening to the draft. And I was like, I was defeated. Defeated because I knew we were going to waste Saquon Barkley's career. And even better, now he left us. So good luck to him. I hope he rushes for 2,000 yards and gets 200 every time he faces the Giants because, he put out all those bad years. So I wish him the best of luck.
Carry the team.
Yeah, he's a good guy. No, I'm not upset with him at all. Listen, go get the money. You only got so many years in life, especially as a running back.
Yeah, he got pummeled.
Especially as a running back, you only got so many years to make that money. Go do it. Yeah. If the Giants wanted to pay Daniel Jones over him, get out of here. Get out. You know what? That's as ridiculous as the Knicks being the number 2 seed.
For.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
but
it.
That's almost as ridiculous as the Knicks being a number 2 seed. Let's talk about the Knicks. The New York Knicks down 5 with 27 seconds left at Madison Square Garden. I think back to Leeds in the last minute at Madison Square Garden, and the first name that comes to everybody's mind, Reggie Miller. The 1 minute man. But now we got a guy from Villanova, DiVincenzo, hit a couple of threes. He even missed one. First of all, if you're Philly and you're up 2, under 30 seconds left, how can you have trouble inbounding the ball? I mean, that's the most basic thing in basketball. Dave, you play basketball.
Yeah.
Everybody has an inbounds play. How could you not inbound the ball?
Right. And there's and you practice them. It's not just inbounding the ball, and then if they take one option away, you have a second and a third option of any inbounds play, right? So it's impossible to defend them all. It was not well executed.
I mean, I can live with missed free throws if you lose a game. It sucks, but it happens.
Oh, but not when
not
you
in
miss
that
like
situation.
not when you miss 17. You're 15. Well, who was it? Lost. They missed 17 free throws and lost by, I don't know, 7 points. I mean,
that's horrible. But
that was
I mean, when you can't
just in the Final Four.
But you can't inbound the ball at the end of a game.
Yeah.
You do that how many times a game? 30,
Right.
40, 50 times? And then once you get the ball, you're going to get fouled. So grab the ball.
Yep.
It's the most basic thing in basketball. I don't know, John, what is wrong with the Philadelphia 76ers?
Everything. This is classic Philadelphia. They normally do this in the second round, but I guess they decided to do it a round earlier this year. They wanted to switch it up. So maybe if we were betting that they would lose in the second round, they were like, yeah, we'll switch it up and lose in the first round this year. But they always find a way to choke. Embiid's always hurt. They always choke games away, a la the Raptors game, that game 7 where Kawhi bounced the ball off the rim. It's classic 76ers. It's a Philly thing. They always choke. And it was a really nice gesture of them to choke away that lead on the day Matt Ryan retired. Sorry, Atlanta fans. The day Matt Ryan retires, the king of choking, they pay homage to him by choking themselves. So congratulations, Sixers, on paying homage to a great quarterback in Matt Ryan by choking away your game.
Raphael, the 76ers, are they that bad, or are the Knicks actually good this year?
I think the Knicks are actually good this year. I mean, they've dealt with injuries beginning and the middle of the season, so they were able to keep on playing. I like the way the rotation works. I thought the trade deadline, they found really good pieces to help them. And Philly, let's face it, I mean, with Embiid being the main focus, and I feel saddened to watch him play. It's you got to, if you like him, if you dislike him, for him to be out there, 99% of people in the NBA will be like, no, I can't do it. I'm going to sit out. To watch him limp around and still be a competitor, you got to give his hats off to that. I don't care if you hate him, if you hate Philly or whatever, watching him trying to do everything in his power to keep on competing. I got to give him hats off because I can guarantee you, LeBron wouldn't do this. AD wouldn't do this. We've seen Kawhi not do this. There's a lot of big stars that be like, hey, you know what? We're just going to play for next year. I'm going to sit out.
Yeah, I mean, listen, one thing you can never not say about Joel Embiid, he is a warrior. The Sixers with him are a really good team. Without him, they're done. They're nothing compared to what they are. And,
Shaq had it correctly. He needs to be more – not lose weight, but he needs to get some pressure off those knees. I mean, He's a big guy, and watching him jump and land and then just go down because his knees probably can't take it. He's got to do something for conditioning or something. Like we see a lot of big guys that do a total 360 on their game and don't jump as much and start learning the jump shot or something like that to protect those knees. Embiid has to do that. Maybe do some. I've heard a lot of big men do ballet. Wimby said his parents made him do ballet in his 8th grade so his footwork can be better and light on his toes. We heard football players do boxing just for the footwork itself. So I think Embiid's going to have to do the same thing. And apologize for being late. This guy is saving me right now. My mini Wi-Fi, because the Wi-Fi is still out in my house.
Wow.
So Raphael, to your point, there was a guy, huge, the broadest shoulders I've ever seen, and I don't think he ever played 5 inches off the ground. It was Michael Cage, and he ended up playing 17 seasons. I mean, and he was a big. I mean, we're both San Diego State, and I never felt small, but Michael Cage was a big dude, and he just played. It just created space, and a guy like Embiid can create space without having to jump over people.
That's a great example, Dave. Michael Cage was a crafty lefty too. Loved watching him play. And he learned how to shoot the right-handed. Remember, he used to shoot that right-handed jump shot where everyone was guarding him in the left, and all of a sudden he'll do a right-handed jump shot at the free throw line and make it. That's a great example, Dave.
I also think the 76ers need to get more talent around Embiid so not as much is on his shoulders. Not that he can't do it, but like you said, Raphael, because everything is on his shoulders and on his knees, I think he feels he has to do it all, and then he's out there for 35 minutes or 40 minutes, and he's got to do the rebounding. He's got to score. He's got to hit threes. He's got to do everything. And I think physically his body just can't hold up to those standards. His talent can, but physically I don't think he can. It reminds me of Greg Oden. We saw the talent with Greg Oden. His body couldn't hold up. And unfortunately, his career was defined by injuries. Now, obviously, Embiid's won MVP, but his career is going to be defined by his injuries and not the MVP or anything else because he's always hurt when it matters. That's going to really be his legacy unless something changes.
Well, they did bring in Ben Simmons. He was a total flop. They brought in the bearded one. He didn't want to play in Philly. Maxey was just a pure luck of the draft. I mean, he's probably outplayed his draft status and his contract. So they've tried to do stuff to build around him. They just have not been succeeding. And there's some nice free agents coming in the next couple of years that if he can stay healthy, and what he's doing right now is good for free agents. People are going to see, hey, wow, this guy's limping on one leg. I want to play for him when he's healthy, or he's doing wonders for free agents that may be on the market coming up because they're going to see his gut and his glory and going to say, hey, you know what, this guy's doing it all. Maybe I'll go to Philly and try to get him a ring.
So, Ralph, the fact that the Sixers lost that game in the final seconds on the road, do you give them a chance to make this a series and possibly come back and win, or losing that game deflates them and they're done?
I think losing that game, not just done, they're done in general because of the health in Embiid. They're not just. I think maybe New York in the second half thought, hey, you know what, Embiid is limping around. We have this game. Let's just not screw it up. And they just forgot that they were still playing 2 more quarters. I thought they gave the game away. I mean, this series is pretty much over. Even if Philly needs win one game, there's no way the health of Embiid is going to make them win 4 of their next 6 games. Or 5 games. I just don't see that happening. They're done, and just like the Lakers, they let one slip away last night, stealing.
They had to have that.
Yeah, stealing a game in Denver. So I think both of them should be probably planning their vacations.
You brought up our next topic. Thanks for previewing it.
I am a great leeway. I mean, I just hand the ball off and you guys just run.
What a great segue. This is why we have you. I mean, nobody's better in the business than Rafael Esparza. So the Lakers, game 2 on the road against Denver, up by 20. And
it's a beautiful shot.
In the final seconds, the Lakers blow the game. Denver pulls a win. They go up 2-0. Jokic, 27 points, 20 rebounds, and 10 assists. Like guy wasn't even playing hard last night. I mean, come on. A triple-double.
Does he ever play hard?
No.
He doesn't ever. Guy doesn't even move. It's like watching a sloth just throw up 30. He's like a triple-double every game with the least amount of effort I've ever seen of any athlete. It's amazing. I literally in this game was watching. Like, how does he do it? And I have no idea. It's the ugliest triple double. There's just nothing pretty about it other than the simplicity of it. And so here's the other thing that really drove me nuts. Who's the overrated guy with the Lakers? The center,
Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis?
Show.
He calls himself the best defender in the league, and in that final minute, he gets pumped. I mean, Jokic never leaves the ground. How do you get pump faked? How do you get pump faked from a guy that never leaves the ground? Pump fake him. He goes underneath him, and then he reaches over and fouls him, gives him 3 points, and then lets a 6-foot guy step away. You know he's going to step away. You're the best defender, self-proclaimed best defender in the league. Man, if you say that, man, you better not give up 2 easy baskets in the final minute to lose a game. And because he did.
So, Dave, I am the self-proclaimed king of everything. That doesn't mean it's true. And with Anthony Davis, if he can stay healthy for 5 games in a row, Flash Joe is a plus. I mean, that dude is always hurt. When he can play, he's phenomenal. When he
I guess
puts
I'd
his
like to
effort
miss
into
that.
it, but I mean, he is forever hurt. He's gets the weirdest injuries. John, you remember the time he hurt his ear?
Yep. Or he got
And
poked
he,
in the eye or something. Then he was out for
well,
like a couple games.
well, the poke in the eye you can't control, but he hurt
Yeah,
his
but
ear.
it's always
He had an
something
ear
with him.
contusion.
It's always the dumbest injuries with him.
Dave, have you ever heard of anyone on an NFL roster going out because you have an ear contusion?
No, I've never heard of
Okay.
it. I'm not even a baseball player going out for that. And baseball players
Yeah.
go out for everything.
I mean, JB, I told you a couple shows ago that Paul Correa in the middle of a Stanley Cup final game lost part of his ear. Or I think it was Paul Correa lost part of his ear and then came back, didn't miss a shift, got stitches and didn't miss a shift. Came
Yeah.
back to play, didn't
Tape
miss
it.
any time on the ice.
Tape
So,
it.
so the NBA plays 82 games in a regular season. How many games do you think Anthony Davis played this year?
I would say
48.
65, so that way he could get an award.
I'm going to say 57.
You guys are way off. 76, the most he's played in his last 5 years.
Well,
Well, I
they
thought
see
this
it's
was
the
a loaded
most.
question. Yeah.
How many did he play the four before?
Oh, I don't have that stat in front of me, but I'm just saying you get.
But
I agree, he does get hurt. And first of all, there's a center in Minnesota that will want to talk to Anthony Davis about being the best defensive player center in the business. It was just a bad loss yesterday for the Lakers. They're done.
Gobert's not even the second best. He's not even the third best.
He's gonna win. He's gonna win defensive player
not.
of the year again.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Are you crazy? You already know Wemby's gonna win it.
Not defensive player of the year.
Yeah,
there's
he
no
is.
Way to get,
All
no
the
way
blocks
to
he
give a rookie.
had.
No way.
Come on.
Won't
What
give
do you
him.
average, like 3.5 blocks a game or something? That
No way
doesn't happen
Wemby's-
in basketball.
No way Wemby's getting
And Wemby's like the most popular player in basketball. Of
Well,
course,
first of all, we're
he's
talking
Not
about
giving it to-
defensive
they're
player.
not
That's
giving it
not
to a
a-
rookie.
That's not a popularity.
You're not giving it to a rookie,
Well,
John.
according to Anthony
Well, tips
Davis,
scales.
the reason Anthony Davis doesn't win is because nobody likes him.
Well, that could be true too.
Well, but that's what he says. He goes, "I'm the best, but I'll never get an award for it because nobody likes me." And I'm like,
Wow.
okay, well, half that statement's right.
Yeah.
That's wild. You know, is it a blessing or a curse that LeBron chose him to be his number two?
Well,
Obviously.
they're the same agent, so let's put it that let's put it that way. If you're gonna look at it that way, but I mean, at the time when it was a free agency for Anthony Davis, when he was a free agent and stuff like that, and he was a top guy, so of course he had to say that. At that time, does he regret it? Probably not. But I mean, he didn't want to do nothing with Kyrie Irving at that time because he was a free agent. But that's the time when Kyrie thought the Earth was flat. Kyrie.
Well, they also had a falling out. In Cleveland.
Kawhi was a kind of a free agent at that time, and he had worse injuries than Anthony Davis. So at that time, when they put them together, I could see LeBron saying that because he was the best on the market.
So what is it? Is it 20 straight that Denver's beat the Lakers?
Something.
10 straight.
10 straight.
No, 20 straight.
Is
LeBron.
it 20 straight?
I'm going to trust Dave on this one. Dave looks very passionate about this one.
I saw it on Facebook, so it has to be true.
Oh, yeah, never mind.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes, we take
Facebook
everything on
doesn't lie.
Facebook as truth, guys.
As
Well,
face
that's
That's the new
value.
rule of the show.
Actually, it's LeBron. It's 20 straight against LeBron. So
Okay.
Okay, that makes
I don't know
more
what that
sense.
means, but
Yeah. Is LeBron done? I mean, is he going to win another championship?
No, and I don't think he goes to another team to chase an NBA champion. I know some people that are close to his, I could say crew, and they say deep down inside, he knows that jersey swapping to get championships is going to be his downgrade when he's now done playing. They're going to say, hey,
What are the
Jordan.
odds he goes to Golden State? Because I've heard a lot of rumblings about how he wants to go to Golden State this offseason.
No,
So wait, time out.
I don't see Golden State. If
Time
he
out.
goes
Raphael
anything,
just-
it'll be go back to Cleveland. I don't think he goes anywhere else.
If you're not listening to this show, you're missing out. Raphael just admitted he's got, personal connections to one of the greatest players in NBA history and
Not
given
the
us
greatest,
information.
but one of the greatest players.
One of the greatest. Definitely not the greatest. That's another debate for a slow sports week. And we're getting information on it here on Sideline Sports. If you're not listening.
You know who I used to hang out with when I was the director at Aria was Tyrone Lue.
Really?
Tyrone Lue was a big WNBA bettor and baseball parlay bettor. So he would come in all the time and bet Dave's favorite parlays and stuff like that. One of the nicest guys. We would go in kind of like by the VIP area and just shoot the shit with him, just talking about basketball and just how his life when he was playing it. One of the nicest guys.
Is that the guy that got stepped over by AI from AI in the finals? He got stepped over.
Yes.
Okay.
Now he's the head coach of the Clippers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Listen, he's had a good career as coach as well. He's done well.
Really sharp guy.
He's just
not sports betting wise, but otherwise he's a very sharp guy.
Oh, sports betting, not an easy thing. We're not all Rafael Esparzas. And you know what? At least you keep it real. I have to say, we've spoken about betting. You don't sit there and say you're perfect. You're 19-1 in your last 20. You're as real as it gets. So I give you a lot of credit for that. If you're not following him,
I'm gonna be very upset with you because I have the Yankees on the run line tonight.
Listen, if you want to follow anyone that's involved in sports betting, Rafael Esparza is the best in the business. And he tells you like it is. He don't parlay, don't tell you what to do, how to do it, and he'll give you honest advice, which you don't find a lot in the sports.
Follow him on Instagram because he's doing an Instagram every day now. Aren't you giving him like 3 winners? What do you get? What
I
do you do?
I do a play of the day, and I try to educate at the same time. And I always tell the best thing I tell people is just because a game is on TV doesn't mean you need to bet it.
Yeah, JB.
And you need to learn how to lose. Everyone knows how to win. Everyone could go on social media and say I'm 100-0 and I'm the best. Learning how to lose is the best way you learn how to win.
Wow, that sounds so deep. I feel like I've said that in life, like playing sports and stuff. Got to lose to learn how to appreciate winning. I didn't realize that applied to betting. That's interesting. So you learn
You're really good
day.
at losing. You're really good at losing at
yes, your winning's right around the corner, JB.
Exactly, it's bound to happen.
And you're going to win a lot.
Parlay.
A lot.
Keep betting your money, JV. You're almost there.
You know what?
Got a parlay going.
I wrote that down, and then I'm gonna do one of those stitching things and put it on a plaque and put it up. What is that? What's that called? That thing that Rosie Greer used to do? That needlepoint or
crochet?
No, needlepoint is
knitting. Knitting?
No, this neat.
Gosh, the show got really old really fast in the past 10 seconds.
Well, you know why? John, it gets worse because I got baggage over this. My mom would make me do it because she used to do them. You see those little plaques with the flowers.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So my mom used to do them, and then she gave them to me and my brother to do them. She goes, Rosie Greer does it. You should do it too. And so I'm there going, I'm cussing. I'm going, dang, Rosie Greer sucks.
I used to hold the yarn for my grandma when she would knit blankets and all that. My job was to sit there and just hold the yarn. So
yeah.
I could see Dave, first getting into the NFL, running into Rosie Greer, being like, my mother used to make me have to do what you did.
Yeah. It's needlepoint. Look it up.
I could see it happening. Speaking of odd things, I hear that the NHL has playoffs going on. Has anyone heard about this or care? I mean, I heard about the NBA. I heard about the draft. There's a little talk about baseball. There's some baseball out there. But anyone watching the NHL?
If you're not, you're crazy. I mean, Connor McDavid.
Raphael, you watch everything.
Well, Connor McDavid had 5 assists in a playoff game, and they scored 7 goals in a playoff game. Their team did. He had 5 assists. Like, if you're not watching what the Hurricanes did to the Islanders, they were down 3-0, and they scored 2 goals in 9 seconds to go from down 1 to up 1. They scored 2 goals in 9 seconds to break the Islanders' heart, and that was towards the end of the third period in that game. That game was absolutely insane.
Ooh.
Nobody cares about your crocheting or your
There's a glare.
knitting.
Yeah, I'm fixing it.
If you
It's
can
one of the
see,
greatest-
It's a poop. That's needlepoint.
And the Islanders, I believe, were like 80-0 or something.
John
in their
hasn't
history.
missed a beat though. John hasn't missed a
Islanders
beat.
were like
He's the
3-0.
the only one in America right now talking about hockey. Dave showing us needlepoint, and Raphael is dying over there. I love it, John. John, you proved our
Islanders
point.
never lost a game in the history of their franchise in the playoffs. Went up 3-0 in a game. They never lost one until against the Hurricanes. That was the first time ever.
I only have one question for you, John. How many Stanley Cups do the Carolina Hurricanes have?
One.
Okay. So the
Our
Islanders
franchise
have
is relatively new. I believe 97 is when the Hurricanes came into existence. I believe it was like 97.
So the Islanders are much better as a franchise.
When's the last time they won one or even went to one?
What year were the Islanders formed?
Like 1800?
No. Try again. They were an expansion team. Try again.
It's been a long time, JB. Probably before I was born. So, yeah. We're talking about like good teams. Islanders aren't very good. Their fans were heartbroken that they blew a 3-0 lead. They're down 2-0. We knocked them out of the playoffs last year. We're going to knock them out of the playoffs again this year. I'm enjoying this. I'm having fun. I love that you're an Isles fan and your team keeps getting their heart broken.
So the Islanders were formed in 1972, John, and they won.
Games yesterday, 31 goals yesterday scored in the 4 games in NHL. There's been more overs in the NHL than there has been overs in the NBA. So it's been the NHL playoffs have been more exciting.
Way
than
more
the
exciting.
NBA playoffs right now.
So, real quick,
I don't know anything about hockey, but I know that's a lot of goals.
The Islanders were formed in 72 and won 4 Stanley Cups by 1982 in 10 years. How many did the Hurricanes win in the first 10 years?
They won 1 in their first 10.
Right. So statistically, is 4 better than 1?
When's the last time the Islanders won a cup?
In their first 10 years.
When
we're talking about the first 10 years, John. Forget about after the 10 years.
I mean,
apples to apples.
It's a long time ago, JB.
The better franchise is in New York, where everything is better.
Wait, John, the reason why JB's point is valid is because you said, well, Carolina's a new franchise.
Yeah.
So that's first 10 years. JB went back to the first 10 years of his team.
Yeah, but what
first
are they
10
doing
years
now?
of both organizations, the Islanders are better. So your point was they're a new team. Well, okay. Then.
No, we're not talking about 1982. We're talking about 2024. That was
4
a long
and 10
time
years,
ago.
4 and 10 years.
Pretty good hockey players back then, I think. I don't know much about hockey.
That was actually when they used to fight and play hockey, Joe, when people actually enjoyed watching the sport. The goals are cool.
Great.
The goals are cool. West Coast hockey is where it's at. The Western Conference, much better. It's much more open, quicker game. Am I right or wrong, Raphael? What's better?
It's a different style of game. West Coast is more physical. That's why the Golden Knights won last year. They're just more physical for every team. That's why they out physical. I feel bad for the Stars and the Golden Knights. They should not be playing each other. That should be a Western Conference game. That's disgrace what the NHL put those two for head-to-head matchups. Because both of them could have. It wouldn't shock me if they came out of the West. So it's this disgrace that they're playing in round 1. It's just different hockey, West Coast to East Coast. So
but the East is stronger than the West this year. I mean, the Leafs are really good.
I would say a little bit.
Bruins, Panthers,
I would agree with you on that this year. I think the Panthers are going to be a tough out in the East.
I mean, that entire side with the Bruins and Panthers and all of that.
Did you say Leafs? It's the playoffs. The Leafs don't exist in the playoffs.
But the Leafs are they're always loaded. They're always
but it's the playoffs.
Talented.
It's the playoffs. They don't play in the playoffs. They
stop. If you got Austin Matthews, you can win any game if you have Austin Matthews. Doesn't mean you will, but that guy's absolutely fantastic. If you know anything,
let them get out of the first round. They don't seem to do that very frequently.
I'm just saying that whole side with the Panthers and the Lightning and the Bruins and the Leafs, that is absolutely loaded. Whoever comes out of that and has to go to the conference finals, and the Rangers or Canes are probably going to end up. They're going to end up beating the hell out of each other next round. to get to that other side, that's all loaded. Like all those teams are loaded, man. The West has some good teams, but not nearly as good as the East. The East is more
Lions, Tigers, and Bears. Oh my, the West will win. The Rangers won the President's Cup. The West has it. But let's
anytime you win the President's Cup, you're cursed. You're not going to win.
Exactly, which is exactly why.
That don't mean that they're not loaded. The Rangers have been consistently great all year.
I know. Nobody likes the Rangers.
Thanks for your great response.
Real quick, because you weren't on during the draft segment, and we got a couple of minutes left. Any chance the Bears don't take Caleb Williams?
No. I think the top 2 picks are pretty much solidified. I think after the second pick is when we start seeing maybe some. I don't know if we're gonna see. That's one thing I hate about the NFL. They hype it up, and there's never good trades. It's pretty much. I think quarterbacks could be very interesting. I think we see 5 go in the first round. Would not shock me if Bo Nix goes in the first round. Keep an eye out with the Vikings and the Raiders and even the Patriots. Those 3 teams can maybe have Bo Nix sneak up. That'd be crazy if we see 6, because I still think not one of these quarterbacks are going to be an elite quarterback in the draft. I'm not sold on either of these quarterbacks. So,
do you like Penix?
You know what? I do, but I totally understand why people are really. I mean, those knees. They scare me. I love his attitude. They say he's one of the smartest guys in the interviews. He's one of the nicest guys that people talk about, and the offensive lineman would do anything for him. But I understand the cautious of him, and it saddens me because he was fantastic. People don't remember how he played in Indiana. He was phenomenal in Indiana until he got his legs shredded. So I understand the caution on Michael Penix. I think J.D. Daniels reminds me of Russell of LSU when he came out and he couldn't keep away from the cough syrup. So I think Russell had one good year in LSU. Boom, boom, boom. He's the number 1 draft pick, and then where he's at. That's why I don't understand why people put so much focus on mock drafts. Like, there's so many misses than there are successes.
Yep.
But we're just forced.
We got less than a minute left, and we can gamble on everything in society now. And you're the expert. So if I want to go ahead and put a bet in on my bookie or any other website tomorrow for Thursday, how do I bet the draft? Like, how does someone go about doing that?
There's probably about 3,000 different ways to bet the draft on this one. And if you do your homework on betting the draft, the NFL draft is the sportsbook's worst nightmare. They have never won an NFL draft, and I can't imagine how many years. We call it NFL Customer Appreciation Day. That's why the limits are low. That's why we could care less on how many people crush us during that, because we're going to get it back on week 1, preseason football, NBA playoffs, NHL. It's if you do your homework correctly and look at everything in a draft, you can make some good money in the NFL draft.
All right, so we're about out of time. We appreciate everybody. Don't forget, download the podcast on Believe. If you're listening in Atlanta or WDJY, we appreciate it. If you watch it on social media, that's awesome. Make sure you subscribe and like. And if you're on DBTV, we appreciate you there as well. But we got John Shear, Rafael Esparza, Dave DeRocher, and I'm JB Ellis. We'll see you guys next week.
Be good humans.